We all remember the first time we rode our bikes, or any other important emotional event. Why do emotions have such an important role in cognition and memories? By the time you finish this video, you will understand what emotions are, what their role is in cognition, and how cognition fits within the physical world. The brain regulates the whole body, but in its interaction with the environment, which is necessary for survival, it can only use the sensory system. And the sensory stimuli represent information about the environment. Nevertheless, the incoming photons from what we see, or the sound vibrations from what we hear, or even touch, taste, represent energy and turn into electric vibrations in the retina or the inner ear, and they travel to the sensory cortex to be processed. The first part of cognition is unconscious, and consciousness only is triggered at a later stage when synaptic activation and hormonal activation reaches a certain threshold. Like a swinging pendulum, sensory activation and response recover a resting state, which is like the equilibrium position for the pendulum. It represents a state without outside disturbance. Yet, the brain neural activations do not follow just a simple path, as on the bottom is shown between A and B. The activation path depends on memories. Nevertheless, activation and its response forms a closed loop which recovers the same state, here indicated by A, with the same parameters. Nevertheless, as we've shown, the neuronal activation path gets updated at every activation. Therefore, the starting and the ending condition, A1 and AB, are different. The synaptic connection map is ever changing. The synaptic activation and response, therefore, represent a closed thermodynamic cycle, and we can represent it by the Carnot cycle, which is well known in physics. The activation steps recover the initial state. Here, the A, B, C, D gets back to A. It is also reversible, and therefore it can occur in both directions. Studies shown that positive emotions and neutral states can be differentiated from negative emotions based on their energy and activation profiles. In addition, negative emotions have a long-term presence which accumulates, causing cognitive stress. And these different qualities between negative and positive emotions makes it possible their thermodynamic analysis. The endothermic cycle requires an energy input. This can be learning, acceptance, attentional focus, that is, turns attention and energy inward. And it results in a future focus. And here this is shown on the top. But the exothermic cycle, which doesn't require these attentional focal states, therefore it comes for free, which means that it is governed by the outside stimulus. Therefore, focus is more toward the outside, such as fear or anger, aggravation, and it leads to repetitious thinking and loss of mental energy. So the focus remains in the past. Based on the thermodynamic analysis of perception, we can create an emotional map. The exothermic process come for free, and it results in a movement toward the left, toward insecurity and depression. The endothermic processes increase mental energy, optimism, and confidence, which is analog to a movement toward the right. Based on this understanding, we can see that both physical systems and intelligent cognition represent a macroscopic directionality. And here I used to illustrate this by the infinity staircase that appears to go up forever. That represents how these two opposing systems fit together. How can we represent this? The physical systems, the directional activations are called the arrow of time, which leads to the loss of work potential. Whereas intelligent systems create future orientation, creativity, intellect, which is an increase of work potential. Therefore, the two systems are complementary and need each other for sustainment. Like yin and yang, the physical world and consciousness reliant on each other. The energy released by physical processes supports technological progress. Inversely, civilizations exponentially increasing energy use help sustain exothermic processes. Therefore, the two systems are orthogonal. Or in summary, emotions are part of the brain's energy cycle, and they form the fundamental forces of motivation by aiding the self-regulating recovery of the resting state, which is kind of the brain's ground equilibrium state. We can also say that consciousness is an integral part of the physical world. By forming an orthogonal process to the physical systems, it is necessary, and it turns the cosmos into a coherent, unified, integrated system. And finally, we can say that emotions have a long-term presence and long-term consequences in our personal development. Long-term goals, changing habits, personal betterment requires attentional focus over a long time, because these thermodynamic cycles can only change the energy level of the brain little increments. Just like an Olympic champion requires years of training to be able to achieve such achievement, for muscle training and even the understanding of the sport. Likewise, mental evolution takes time and takes energy requiring long-term commitment.